Alicia Rodriguez thought her biggest problem that night was figuring out how to get home safely. After her bar shift, the beautiful 23-year-old knew she attracted attention with her colorful eyes and golden blonde hair, a gift from her mother's Russian genes. But what she didn't know was that 3 university students, whose pride had been wounded after she rejected them, had decided to humiliate her. And she also didn't know that her father, the man she knew as just a mechanic, was sitting in his truck, watching everything unfold. These 3 young men were about to meet the most experienced Special Forces operator, who had served in the mountains of Afghanistan. Welcome to Quiet Tales Studio. This story will reveal a father's secret past. Don't forget to subscribe. Alicia Rodriguez's beauty was both a blessing and a curse. The Russian genes she inherited from her mother had given her golden blonde hair, hypnotic green eyes, and a look that made men turn their heads. She worked part-time at Crown Bar to finance her university education. Every night she followed the same routine: take orders, smile, be kind, and focus on getting home safely. Marcus Webb, Brad Thompson, and Jake Miller had approached her last month. All 3 were students at the local university, spoiled children of wealthy families, ages 20 to 23, young men who thought very highly of themselves. They couldn't accept Alicia's polite but firm rejection. In their minds, a girl who rejected quality men like themselves should be punished immediately. So, mechanic's daughter, Marcus approached her as the bar was closing that night. Still think you're too good for us, Marcus, please. I just want to go home. Alicia slung her bag over her shoulder. My dad owns the biggest construction company in the city. Brad interjected. You're rejecting guys like us to choose being the daughter of that man living in an old truck. My father is a respectable man, and I don't have to answer to anyone. Jake laughed. Respectable? A mechanic with oil on his hands and broken English. Those blonde hair, those eyes. Do you really think you're his daughter? Outside, Daniel Rodriguez sat quietly in his truck. The 45-year-old man was still in shape from continuing to exercise regularly. He was waiting for Alicia to finish her night shift as he always did. His daughter had forbidden him from telling her. But Daniel had learned long ago that the most important missions were usually not the ones people wanted, but the ones that needed to be done. Sitting in his truck, he could sense the tension his daughter was experiencing inside. Years of training had given him the ability to sense such situations in advance. But he wasn't a soldier anymore, he was a father. And fathers protect their daughters. Chapter 2. Tension rising 3 to 6 minutes. Listen. Beautiful. Marcus had lowered his voice. We're being nice, but you keep rejecting us. This is disrespectful. I'm rejecting you because I don't want to. It's that simple. You're some girl of unknown identity who came out of that repair shop. Our families run this city. Don't talk about my father. Alicia's voice was trembling but determined. Why is the truth painful? Marcus smiled. Maybe it's time you learn that man isn't really your father. This had gone too far. Alicia knew the pain her father had suffered after her mother's death. The man had completely changed after losing his wife. There were times when she heard him crying at night. This attack was unacceptable. My father lost everything after my mother. I won't let you talk about him like that. But maybe he didn't lose. Jake continued with a malicious expression. Maybe he never had. You, with those blonde hair and those eyes. Do you really look like the daughter of a Mexican mechanic? Outside, Daniel could see his daughter being cornered. The change was sudden and complete. The calm mechanic worried about mortgage payments disappeared, replaced by someone else. A familiar tension spread through his body. Reflexes he had tried to forget for years kicked in. Sergeant Daniel Rodriguez, 5th Special Forces Group, 3 tours in Afghanistan, leader of Operation Nightfall, the ghost who neutralized 37 high-value targets without ever being detected. But that life was left behind. At least, he hoped so. He opened the truck door and stepped out quietly. Okay, let's go outside. Marcus was trying to force Alicia out of the bar. Let's teach you some manners. Let go of me. Alicia resisted. Too late. Jake opened the door. You should have known your place from the beginning. The cold air hit Alicia's face. Among the dim lights of the parking lot were shadows, places where no one could see. The 3 young men had formed a circle around her, leaving no escape route. Look, beautiful. Marcus spoke as he approached her. You need to learn to get along well with men like us. This city is small. Everyone knows everyone. I already gave you my answer. No, Brad laughed. The mechanic's daughter is saying no to us? What they couldn't see was someone who had been tracking the world's most dangerous men for years, approaching with fluid silence from between the vehicles. Daniel Rodriguez had no footsteps, no breathing sounds. There was only a shadow moving. In the darkness, Daniel had learned patience in the mountains of Afghanistan. He had tracked Taliban commanders for weeks, learned their routines, waited for the perfect moment. He had found his enemy's weakest moments and neutralized them without making a sound. But this wasn't Afghanistan, and the one other threat wasn't a distant target. This was his Emma, his little girl, the reason he left Special Forces. And no one could harm her. Marcus had pushed Alicia against a car, forming a circle with his friends. Music sounds from the bar could be heard in the distance, but no one could see them. Now, Marcus approached Alicia. "You'll learn to show us respect." "What are you trying to do?" The voice came from behind them, calm and quiet, but with a terrible power within it. The three young men turned and saw the man emerging from between the vehicles. Daniel Rodriguez looked exactly like what he was, a mechanic finishing a long work day. But he was in shape, had the posture of someone who exercised regularly. Oil under his fingernails, worn shoes, flannel shirt. Nothing signaled danger. But Alicia had never seen her father move this way, fluid as water, silent, like something that belonged to the darkness, as if every movement was pre-planned, every step calculated. "Who are you?" Brad asked harshly, but the uncertainty in his voice couldn't be hidden. Daniel's eyes never left Marcus, still standing next to Alicia. In his gaze was a cold assessment, as if he was calculating distances, analyzing movement options. "I'm her father," he said simply. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Marcus looked at Daniel, then at Alicia, clearly trying to process this development. "Father?" Alicia's voice was small, confused. She had never seen this version of her father, perfectly still, completely calm, but emanating something that made the air heavy. "No problem, Mija," Daniel said without taking his eyes off Marcus. "Step back." Marcus's hand clenched. "You can't threaten us, old man." "Not a threat." Daniel's voice remained calm. "An observation. You three young men forced a woman into a dark parking lot. This isn't what it looks like." The implication hit all three young men. What they had planned, what it looked like, was a situation that could lead to serious problems. Even their family's money might not protect them from such accusations. "We didn't do anything," Marcus began. Yet, Daniel completed. "But your intention was clear." Alicia was looking at her father, trying to reconcile this calm, controlled man with the father who burned pancakes and sang the wrong songs in the shower. Was this man the same person, the same man who prepared breakfast for her every morning? "Dad," she said again. This time Daniel looked at her. For a moment, his expression softened. "Are you okay?" She nodded. "Good." He looked back at the three young men. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go inside. You're going to say you drank too much tonight and needed some fresh air. You're going to stay away from my daughter. You're crazy," Marcus said, but his voice broke on the words. Daniel smiled, which was more impressive than anything he had done. In that smile was cold knowledge, experience, as if he had seen much worse situations, dealt with much more dangerous people. "Son," he said gently, "you haven't met real craziness yet." After the three young men returned inside, Alicia and Daniel were left alone in the parking lot. Silence surrounded them. Only distant music sounds could be heard. "Dad," she finally said. "What happened?" Daniel looked at his hands, his oil-stained hands. "I protected you. That's not what I mean, you know it." Alicia's voice was strong. "You, like what? Like you've done this before. Like you knew these kinds of situations." Daniel remained silent for a long time. The wind rustled his hair. A car horn sounded in the distance. Normal, nice sounds, but there was something extraordinary between them. "I used to be a different person, Alicia, before your mother died. I had a different job." "What kind of job?" "The kind where you learn to see danger. The kind where you learn to solve problems quickly and quietly." "Dad, what did you do before you became a mechanic?" Daniel looked into her eyes. He had been expecting and fearing this question for years. "I was a soldier, Mija, Special Forces. I spent 15 years in places you've never heard of, doing things I can't talk about." The words hit Alicia like a physical blow. Her father, her quiet, gentle father, wasn't just a soldier, but a Special Forces soldier. among the most elite, most trained soldiers. Why didn't you tell me? Because I'm not that person anymore. When your mother died, I left that life. You needed a father, not a warrior, but you still remember. You don't forget some things, Daniel said simply. The body remembers. The mind automatically assesses threats, calculates escape routes. Were you good at it? Daniel's smile was sad, proud, and infinitely tired. I was very good, Alicia. That's why I had to stop. Monday morning, Alicia walked through university with a new awareness. The posture her father had taught her, shoulders back, head up. Aware of surroundings, she had thought this was just good posture. Now she understood it was a survival skill. Marcus, Brad, and Jake looked at her differently. The casual harassment was gone, replaced by distance mixed with respect. They weren't trying to make eye contact with her. What really happened? Her friend Maria asked at lunch. My father talked to them, Alicia said simply. Just talked. Because when Marcus saw you this morning, he almost ran away. Alicia smiled. My father can be very persuasive. That afternoon after school, she found her father's truck in its usual spot. But now she was seeing details she had missed before. How he positioned his truck suitable for quick exit. How his eyes scanned the surroundings as Alicia approached automatic, professional. How was school? He asked. Different. Good different. Quiet different. No one bothered me. Daniel nodded, satisfied. Sometimes people just need to be reminded of their boundaries. Dad, can I ask you something? Always. Do you miss it? The army? Daniel experienced a thoughtful silence. I miss the brotherhood, the clarity. When you're a soldier, you know who you are. No uncertainty. But I've never regretted leaving. Because being your father is the most important mission I've ever taken. Even when I was ashamed of you, especially then, it means you're being a normal young person. That evening, Alicia thought about her father. All these years, she had only seen him as a mechanic. She hadn't understood the sacrifice he had made, the career he left, the identity, the camaraderie, all of it for her. 2 weeks later, as Alicia was leaving school, she saw a man in military uniform next to her father's truck, older, with more medals, and he was speaking to her father with respect. As she approached, she caught fragments of the conversation. Double quotes. Heard you came here. You always have a place if you change your mind. I understand family first, but the world is becoming dangerous again. Daniel saw her, and the conversation stopped. The officer turned and smiled. You must be Alicia. I've heard a lot about your father. Colonel Webb was just leaving, Daniel said curtly. The colonel nodded. It was good to see you, Danny. Both of you. He handed Alicia a card. If you change your mind. After he left, they stood in silence. He wants you back, Alicia said. The army doesn't like to lose good soldiers. Will you go back? Daniel looked at his daughter, intelligent, beautiful, and finally beginning to understand his depth. No, Mija, I made my choice long ago. You are my mission now. On the way home, Alicia found herself proud of her father, not just for who he was, but for who he chose to be. The warrior who exchanged his weapon for a wrench, his career for his daughter. And if anyone threatened her again, they would learn the most dangerous men are usually those who have chosen peace, because they know what violence costs and when it's worth paying that price. Some fathers teach their children to play sports. Alicia's father had taught her something different, that power is not about what you can do, but about what you choose not to do. Quiet power is silent until it speaks louder. I hope this story made you think. Don't forget to subscribe and meet us in our next story.